How wonderful was that improv session? We all got to look deeply into the eyes of a stranger and accelerate intimacy. Try it on strangers, not just here, but after you leave the event. And I would like us all to welcome Maen and Amanda to the stage. And what we're going to discuss this afternoon is how do you create positive impact in your communities through the power of partnerships and emerging technology. And we have some really exciting news to share as well. You're going to hear it here first. But before we dive in, I want to ask a question. Who here has ever gone to a restaurant of any type and sat there and worried about the food waste, not just of your meal, but of that day, of every day? Raise your hand, nice and high. Nice and high. Right? All of us, thank you. I mean, it's a really, really pervasive problem. And so with that in mind, I wanted to sort of ask both of you to introduce yourselves a little bit briefly and tell us a little bit about what you do at your companies. Why don't we start with Amanda?
Well, thank you so much, Simon. It's such an honor to join you and Maen today. And Cruise is really grateful to the Social Innovation Summit for thinking of us as a part of this important conversation. So, like many of you in this room, I've spent my career focused on social impact and really have found myself consistently at this intersection of cross-sector collaboration, always focused on how to drive social change forward. And I can't think of a more exciting place to do that work than at Cruise right now. Cruise is a self-driving car company, and we have a vision of transportation that's a new future, transportation that's safer, more inclusive, and better for the planet. And so we're really excited to offer our self-driving cars not only to each and every city where we operate, but also to our communities. And this technology is here. I know we've had conversations so far today where for some of you it might be hard to believe, but in cities like San Francisco, Austin, Phoenix, driverless cars are here. And so it's an exciting moment, but it still is a nascent industry. And when you're building something new, it's such a unique opportunity to think about the potential you have to change the world. And not only that, I would add, there's this responsibility to do so. I feel that personally, and we really believe in that at Cruise, and it's why we've embedded these key principles in our mission, including sustainability. So we've had an all-electric fleet from the start. Also, accessibility. We are building a purpose-built vehicle that's like nothing you see on the roads today, and it includes a wheelchair-accessible option. And we're also focused on equity. So Cruise for Good, our social impact program, is ensuring that everyone in our communities can benefit from this new technology.
So Maen, tell us a little bit about Replate.
Yeah, of course. So thank you, first of all, for having me on. Lovely seeing all the beautiful faces I know. Yeah, so I want to talk about the problem we're trying to solve here, right? So if you look at this country, we waste 40% of our food. That's 40 of our food, 40%. While 1 in every 8 Americans do not know where their next meal is coming from. So this is a huge problem of supply and demand. Add to that, food waste is also one of the main contributors to climate change, right? So at Replate, we're trying to tackle these problems: food waste, food insecurity, climate change. And the way we're doing it is trying to enable businesses and big corporations to have an easy, seamless way for them to donate that surplus food or leftover food that they have from catering events or their dining centers, airports, hospitals, hotels, really any business that have surplus food that is nutritious and healthy. How can we make that a very seamless process for them to donate it to communities in need? These communities in need, we're talking about nonprofits, shelters, soup kitchens, youth programs, senior centers that can use the food to advance their mission. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to match the surplus of food with communities in need, and the goal really is to reduce food waste, mitigate climate change, and also food insecurity.
I mean, it's so powerful to hear both that autonomous vehicles are already in place and also what 40% of our food is wasted. So with that in mind, clearly both organizations are using technology to address both food insecurity and also climate change. Can you get a little bit more specific about how you're doing that in each case and why those two elements are so important to building resilient communities? Amanda?
Sure. Well, serving our communities has always been core to Cruise's mission. But in terms of working on real issues today, using autonomous vehicles, it was the pandemic that brought to light the potential we had, and we really saw that we could use our technology today, and at the moment it was pre-commercial. We were still in R&D mode. So we saw food insecurity rising, and we partnered with San Francisco Marin Food Bank and another nonprofit to ensure they could scale their home-delivered grocery programs. And they were serving 11,000 families a week. That program continues through today. So it's really important work that began organically for us. But fast forward to today, this work is now anchored in our Pledge 1% commitment to bring social impact and autonomous vehicles and service of our communities to every city where Cruise operates. And so I want to give a quick shout out to the Pledge 1% members in the room and the team. It's such an important movement, and Cruise is excited to champion this movement because when you make a commitment as a business, especially early on, the potential for your impact to scale as you grow only is exponentially scaling with you. So that's really exciting for us. And if you fast forward to today, we've delivered over 2 million meals through this work. We've also started piloting a ride-hail program to offer service workers who work late-night shifts in San Francisco a safe, reliable, affordable way to get home. And these are often individuals, like you heard the story earlier today, Jennifer, working multiple jobs, don't have a safe, reliable way to get home. So we're learning a lot in this work, but as you said, Maen, we're just scratching the surface in terms of the need. And that's something that we really care about. So to make this local, 1 in 5 Californians, as we sit here today, don't know where their next meal is coming from. That's 1 in 5 from a state that produces most of the nation's food. And as you look across the country, we know that low-income families are spending close to 30% of their income on transportation. So these are big issues and barriers to getting to these resilient communities we all want to be a part of, and we know there's a role for Cruise to play in that.
Yeah.
Those statistics are so powerful, man. How would you build on that in terms of replay?
So honestly, I think just talking about technology is an extremely important component to our work. Because food rescue or donating food is not a new concept. However, I think adding technology and professional services to the work makes it a scalable approach to food rescue. Just to give you an example, for example, we work here in LA. We have a few food donors clients. We work with Netflix campuses, in addition to Snap as well. These campuses have access to our dashboard where they can make it so easy for them. They can donate pickups on demand or schedule weekly pickups based on their need. And as a full cycle, they can see on their dashboard all the meals that they created, the pounds they've recovered, water that they saved, and the CO2 diverted from the environment. So all this value add to the business so that they can actually count it toward their sustainability goals, right? Or their ESG goals. So the idea here with replay technology is you want to add value to the business so we can engage them in the problem, but also give them a very easy way to do it. That's where the technology comes in.
It's so powerful because, you're not only engaging all stakeholders, you're adding value to all stakeholders at the same time. And I can't help but notice that you're doing different things, but there's a lot of connection between what you're doing as well. And, I said that we're going to share some big news today, and I want to do that the right way. So I'd like us all to do a bit of a drum roll, if we could, please. Could we engage the inner child and give a little bit of a drum roll? Louder, louder. Take it down, take it down, take it down. Amanda, over to you.
Well, it's fitting here at the Social Innovation Summit that we share our big news with all of you. Today, Replate and Cruise are excited to announce that we're launching the first ever all-electric, driverless food rescue program in the country. Woo! You can tell we're personally excited. This has been a work of love, right? Yeah. Yep. But we are so thrilled. You can tell Replate's mission is just so critical. And so for us to be able to support and help scale your work is so meaningful to us. And we're really excited to bring a bigger impact with a smaller environmental footprint to the cities where we operate together. So we'd love to show you a video now to help bring this announcement to life.
We can only do this with each other because it's a tough job and you cannot do it by yourself.
1 in every 8 Americans do not know where their next meal is coming from. All of this is happening while we throw away 40% of our edible food. Food waste has been identified as a leading contributor to climate change. At Replate, we're trying to tackle both of these challenges. Replate is a nonprofit that matches surplus food from businesses with communities in need. This partnership with Cruise, it will allow us to create the first ever all-electric, fully autonomous food recovery in the country.
Replate helps connect us to different organizations that help provide food for our students. The more we can be clean and help our planet and make sure that we don't have food waste, the better we'll be.
As we grow in new cities, together with Cruise, we would love to replicate this model to reach more people who are experiencing food insecurity.
With Cruise for Good, we want to ensure that everyone in our communities benefit from the access and connection that our all-electric autonomous vehicles can provide.
I'm a science teacher by day and a bartender at night. I usually get off between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., so it's nice to be able to just get in a car and it goes. Transportation is extremely expensive. Cruise for Good offering this free ride service, it's definitely helped myself and other service industry workers being able to financially support themselves and being able to get from one place to another safely.
When the pandemic hit, we asked ourselves, what could we do? That was our instinct. We recognized that our vehicles could deliver meals to those who were most in need. And that experience was pivotal to the role we could play in every community. And so we joined Pledge 1%. There's so much more we could do with these vehicles in every community that we come to.
We ask, what's the greatest need here, and is there a way that we can help? We partner with nonprofits and organizations that know the community best to answer those questions.
We've got partners who inspire us, who teach us, who share our joy in solving these problems.
Could we all scream and stomp our feet a little for that? That is so exciting. It is such a breakthrough first, which is going to have enormous consequences. And I've got to ask, how did this partnership start, and what are some of the key components of a successful sort of cross-sector partnership like this?
Yeah,
Maen.
I can take this one. So, so the way this has started is, as a matching platform, as a food rescue, program, is the toughest thing is logistics and delivery, right? So it's expensive, it's tough to figure out, and also it adds to carbon emission as as you deliver the food. You're not only, yes, you're reducing carbon footprint from the food recovery process, but when you drive the vehicle, you're emitting CO2. So you sort of, you're not doing as good as you would like to. So I started thinking about this problem and like, okay, why reinvent the wheel? Why don't you look at potential products that actually help us not only deliver food in an electric vehicle, but also reduce the barriers when it comes to cost and take it to the communities in need. And that was very important during COVID as well, because we worked with a lot of organizations that couldn't open during COVID. So we had to send food directly to homes and bypass nonprofits. So that was very expensive. I started thinking of what are the ways that we can reduce the barrier and make it a scalable way for us to move food around. So I was like, okay, Cruise looks amazing. Okay, I went on my LinkedIn and I thought, okay, maybe I will hit the social impact person there. So I was very lucky. I found Amanda, and that was July last year when I did. And I just emailed her. Like I was like, you know what? Why not try? See what happens. And I was one of the luckiest people because I really interacted with one of the most impressive social impact leaders I've worked with. So
Answer those emails. When you get those emails, answer those emails. Amanda, what would you share?
No, I would just add that it really all starts with building a trust-based relationship. And as you can tell, Maen is an inspiring social entrepreneur. So back at you that I was very impressed with his vision for a better future. And so it was easy to have coffee and a few conversations that ultimately led us to starting a pilot together. So we just agreed to learn how this could work. And I'd say learning goes both ways. I know at Cruise we have learned so much in this work, and I think it's so important to take that humility, and one of our values is be a customer, use that lens to really co-design what's going to work when you're building something new, right? You have to be willing to do that together. And so at Cruise, we've brought our engineering teams, our operations teams, our delivery teams. I mean, it is a huge cross-functional effort, and we have so many of our Cruise team here today to celebrate this moment because it's bringing the best of what our company does to importantly scale and support a mission that we really want to help expand. So again, it began organically, and that's why I love the Social Innovation Summit. I think the conversations and connections that we have here today actually do spark real change. So we're excited to see where this goes. And this is an approach That's important to Cruise because from a social impact perspective, everything we do is grounded in partnership, and we have formalized that in our advisory board. So Replate is on our board. We have a coalition of local and national leaders that let us know the key issues in each community where we operate and how we can better plug in and serve and support and play a role in the solution. And so bringing those who are proximate to the challenges to the table to really inform us on where we can help is a strategy that I think is really important in building cross-sector collaboration.
Absolutely, and I mean, I want to sort of, the $64 question, I mean, I'd like to ask both of you to give us a snapshot of your vision for where, you know, partnerships and emerging technology can continue to scale impact and build resilient communities given the future that we're all kind of facing. So, Maen, what would you say?
Yeah, I think for me, it's as simple as, you know, if you want to partner with an organization and, you know, and whatever the mission is, right? I think it has to be beyond the idea of let's do a month campaign or change the logo color, right? I think it's about rolling up your sleeves, getting into the day-to-day operations, understand the problem that you're trying to solve, and work with the communities. And this is a year of work of piloting to integrate our technology in an API right now today. It doesn't come overnight. So I think the idea of if you want to create partnership, it's about getting engaged, front line with the problem, and then engage cross-departmentally. Amanda just talked about the engineering and marketing and operations sales. All of them are working with each other from Cruise, not just the social impact Cruise, talking about the corporate Cruise as well. So I think that kind of work will lead to scale and will lead to real understanding of the problem. And that's where I see it mostly. And also like taking a step back and think big. I think, you know, food rescue, like I mentioned, has been there for a while, but how do you start thinking bigger than what you are? And I think that's what allows you to do when you work with other organizations, start to see their outlook on things as well.
You know, you're never too small to lead, and you should never limit the breadth of your own ambition because that will sort of determine the ideas you have, the partnerships you forge, as you say, and so on. And Amanda, what would you say about the vision for the future of, you know, how we scale impact, how we build in true resilience to communities?
Well, I think it's echoing what Maen said. So creating resilient communities, it requires all of us. It requires partnership, collaboration. But I would add this idea that you've planted the seed for of truly falling in love with the problem. So staying laser focused on what are we solving for and being clear about that. Because if we want to see real change, I think it's so important that those who are frontline facing these challenges are engaged in letting us know how we can help. And at Cruise, we always say, like, our core approach is to engage and serve alongside with communities. We have to be in lockstep with the communities to know the need, and that's something that we take very seriously because I think that approach is how we're going to create change. And then that's when we can work across sectors, across issues, to really generate these breakthrough ideas that will get us to these resilient communities that everyone deserves to be a part of.
You know, the reason I'm just so admire what you've done is that a lot of times we ask ourselves these days, what gives us cause for hope or cause for optimism? And what you both demonstrate is that we all need to self-select and be a cause for optimism. The way that you came together, the way that the partnership has come together, and how it's going to scale is something that we can lean into, you know, despite the future that we all face. And I'd just like to ask the audience, who here would like to see Replate and Cruise serving underserved communities in their cities around the country? Raise your hand. Right? Can we all put our hands together for Amanda and for Maen and what they're doing?